Hello and welcome back to Medium Rare. My name is Rag Reynolds and today we have 3 stories to talk about. But before we get into any of today's stories, I do want to encourage you to check out my social media such as my Twitter and my Instagram, and also check out my Patreon if you'd like to help support the channel, as my videos are often demonetized. Links as always are in the description down below. And so our first story today is going to set the tone for our final story as well, because our first story is about copyright abuse, about someone abusing the copyright system on YouTube, and in this occasion it is not just a person, it is an entire company. So what we're talking about today is Jukin Media. Jukin Media is a company that allows users and creators to license their videos with the company. In exchange for a share of the monetization profits, the company offers certain services to creators. If you check out their website, here you can see what they will do with your video and what they can do for your video if you license with them. We begin to monetize your YouTube views as soon as you sign the agreement. There's absolutely no waiting period. We will also place a claim on any unauthorized copies immediately, ensuring only you, the rightful video owner, is making money from your video, rather than any individuals who may have uploaded your video to their channel in hopes of gaining followers, shares, or royalties. We use YouTube's Content ID system to discover the copies, and we have a dedicated team who manually search for your video to claim copies from compilations, video memes, and other types of videos that Content ID may fail to pick up. Now, right away reading that is very concerning to me as a creator on this platform. If something is being used in a compilation or a video meme and other types of things that Content ID doesn't pick up, then that's probably something called fair use. That's usually okay to do. Anyway, what's currently happening is MMOX Review on Twitter, a guy who also has a YouTube channel with 2 million subscribers, posted this tweet. Here are the charges Jukin Media gave me. $3,000 for a single meme because it contained footage from 2 of their clips. If I don't pay this, they'll strike me and take down my channel. And underneath the tweet you can see a bill that has been sent to him by Jukin Media requesting that he pay these fines. In response to this tweet, Jukin Media did respond saying, "We left a comment on the video. Here's a screenshot. You're making money off of videos that don't belong to you. Our only goal here is to ensure that the rightful owners of the videos are compensated. We're happy to talk and try to find a resolution that works for everyone." And underneath that they had screenshotted the comment from his video. And you can pause the video here and read through this full thing if you would like to. But essentially they're trying to say that either he has to pay this money or they will strike, or alternatively he could pay them $49 on their website to be part of their licensing program, and that would help him avoid these strikes. Honestly, I just think this whole thing is such a mess. If you didn't quite understand what was going on there, essentially this guy has posted a video, and in his video he has used a clip of some video that has been licensed by Jukin Media. Now this could have been a clip that was 5 seconds long, 30 seconds long, it doesn't matter. The fact that he has used any of their video, any of their clips that are licensed by them in his video has resulted in them trying to bill him. As he said in his tweet, this was all over a couple of memes. I'm just really annoyed by this because there are just so many companies out there on YouTube and people on this platform who constantly abuse the copyright system, and that's what I'm going to get onto later a little bit with our final story that I'm going to be talking about. But it really does grind my gears. It really bothers me when people constantly abuse this system. And it is so easy to abuse. And it annoys me that YouTube aren't doing anything about it. It annoys me that YouTube haven't solved this problem yet. It needs to be resolved. YouTube need to fix this because it is causing devastation on this platform. There is a tremendous difference between someone taking your entire video and uploading it to their channel unedited, no changes. That is wrong, that is against copyright. But when someone is taking a clip from one of your videos, when someone is taking a part of your video, a part of your content to react to provide commentary, to transform in some way, that becomes fair use. And it is clear that Jukin Media do not either understand or believe in fair use. Anyway, that's just my opinion on this. Be sure to let me know what you think about this story in those comments down below. And our next story today is a little bit of normie news. We're talking about some updates to this Iran situation. I've spoken about this in a couple of videos already. The last time I spoke about it, we were basically up to speed on the US-Iran tensions. Iran had fired some missiles at some bases where US troops were stationed in Iraq, but no one had been harmed. And from there, it did seem like tensions had stepped down. In that video, I also did mention that there was a Ukrainian plane that ended up crash landing to the ground. And there were some theories going around that this was not, as the Iranians claimed, an engine malfunction, but rather this had been shot out of the sky either purposely or unintentionally by the Iranians. So now the reason we're talking about this today is because there have been some updates to that specific situation. The plane that contained 82 people from Iran, 63 from Canada, 11 from Ukraine, 10 from Sweden, 4 from Afghanistan, 3 from Britain and 3 from Germany has now basically been confirmed to have been shot down by the Iranians. US officials have put out statements saying that all evidence does lead them to believe that Iran has shot this plane out of the sky, although they do believe it could have been unintentional. And then after that, Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, came out making a statement saying this.
There have been ongoing discussions with foreign ministers, senior intelligence and military officials, including the fourth meeting of our incident response group. There have been important developments regarding the potential causes of this deadly crash, developments of which Canadians should be made aware. The news will undoubtedly come as a further shock to the families who are already grieving in the face of this unspeakable tragedy. We have intelligence from multiple sources, including our allies and our own intelligence. The evidence indicates that the plane was shot down by an Iranian surface-to-air missile. This may well have been unintentional.
And we also have this video that appears to back all this up and appears to show the plane being shot by a missile in the sky. However, in the face of all this, Iranian officials are sticking to their guns and saying that no missile was actually involved. At a news conference on Friday, Iran's Civil Aviation Organization chief repeated his view that a missile was not the cause of the crash. The thing that is clear to us and that we can say with certainty is that this plane was not hit by a missile, he told reporters. As I said last night, this plane for more than 1.5 minutes was on fire and was in the air, and the location shows that the pilot was attempting to return. Overall, I am glad that the US and Iran tensions seem to have simmered a bit. I mean, they could definitely take off at any moment again. There are still issues to be resolved there. I'm just glad that they're not in full-fledged war right now. But this whole plane incident, I do believe that this is what's happened. The Iranians have shot it down. I don't see why they would have shot it on purpose. I do believe that it was probably an accident. They're just now not going to admit to that. It will be interesting to see how this story develops from here. But as always, let me know what you think about all this in those comments down below. And now our final story today. This is about Vincent Nicotra, Chris Hansen, and the whole investigation on Onision and other undesirables on YouTube. This is a subject that I personally wasn't actually going to touch for a while. I didn't want to touch it simply out of a bit of respect because I've had nothing but nice interactions with both Vincent and Chris Hansen, so I didn't really want to come out against them or anything like that. But it has gotten to a point, I believe, where I feel that it would be wrong of me not to talk about this. So for those of you who are unaware, Chris Hansen is in fact that Chris Hansen, the guy who used to have that show on TV, you know, To Catch a You-Know-What. He is now on YouTube hosting a show called To Have a Seat with Chris Hansen, and on that show he investigates various undesirables on the internet. The most recent subject of one of Chris Hansen's investigations has been longtime problematic YouTuber Onision. Chris has spoken to various guests on his show about Onision, including myself at one point, and also many of Onision's exes and friends and all sorts of other people. I personally was on the show in mid-December to talk about my experiences growing up on the Onision forums from around 2010 to 2016, and also my time moderating the forums at the end of that stint. The rest of the shows have been putting a large emphasis and really looking into the fact that Onision and his spouse Kai may or may not have been grooming underage girls and also soliciting some underage nude images with these people. And now the reason I'm bringing this up isn't actually to talk about Onision or anything to do specifically with that investigation, but rather to actually talk about Vincent Nicotra and Chris Hansen, because recently there has been a lot of negative publicity on Vincent Nicotra, and by association that has also begun to transfer over onto Chris Hansen as well. If you're unaware, Vincent Nicotra is Chris Hansen's partner in all of this. He's kind of the guy who runs all the IT stuff. He runs the streams for Chris Hansen. He runs the websites for Chris Hansen, and he even is the first person to talk to alleged victims and other people who are going to be on Chris Hansen's show. He speaks to them long before Chris ever speaks to them. Vincent was also handling all of the social media stuff. And now the bad publicity all started when Vincent Nicotra's Twitter account had a meme posted onto it, and this meme was a picture of someone on a short bus, and Vince had added the caption, "This is Onision's elementary school pictures being leaked." Prior to this instance, Vince had also been on his Twitter making lots of different jokes and posting memes before this about Onision, such as saying he had a baby carrot in reference to his genitals. And although a lot of people were not so happy about this and weren't comfortable with what Vincent was doing on here, and they thought it was very unprofessional considering the circumstances, most were willing to overlook it. However, once the short bus meme was posted, people were really upset, and that then led lots of people to start looking into Vincent's past as well. When the short bus meme was originally posted, it was met with a lot of backlash, and this led Vincent to take the meme down. However, instead of then apologizing and trying to move on from that, Vincent instead tried to claim that he had been hacked. When people started doubting Vincent or gave him a hard time for using that excuse, he started to lash out at them. At one point, Vince even went as far as to suggest that someone who said he wasn't hacked was the person, in fact, who had hacked him. He was also calling anyone giving him a hard time an Onision lover. And at another separate point in time, Vince even said in YouTuber Deity's livestream chat that he believes Realstream News may have been the person who hacked his account. And just for context, Realstream News is someone that Chris and Vincent had recently become aware of. He was perhaps going to be a subject of one of their investigations. Later down the line, Vincent ended up apologizing, kind of, but not for actually posting the meme. Instead, he apologized, trying to say it wasn't going to happen again, and then later made a comment about how apparently this all happened because a friend of his, a friend or a family member, had gotten onto his phone. So his story had changed from being hacked to now someone in his close friend circle or family circle had posted the image. And to make matters worse, this isn't where everything ended. As I already mentioned, people had begun digging into Vincent's past, and they had found a lot of concerning things. Some of this stuff, such as lying about creating his own website from scratch and other IT related stuff, are things that I'm not really going to get into in this video. I don't think it's kind of relevant to the other things I'm saying right now. They're definitely important, and I do suggest you maybe do some more investigating yourself, go research, watch some other videos. But if I was to speak about all this IT and website stuff, this video would be much longer than it needs to be, so I'm not going to get into that. Many of Vincent's posts and comments from this sort of Onision investigation time, also spanning back to previous investigations months ago, all started to surface. And at this point, I also became aware that Vincent has seemingly been abusing the copyright system on YouTube. In this comment here, you can see he is threatening someone on YouTube with a strike, presumably a copyright strike. Here is another screenshot of copyright strikes that were issued on the Baked Salmon YouTube channel by Vincent, a channel that had been critical of both Vince and Chris. This channel actually ended up being taken down entirely. Other people have also been hit with strikes on their videos for being critical of Vince, and this includes Realstream News. Honestly, it makes me feel ill that I'm even defending RSN, because I honestly do believe that guy is literal scum and doesn't deserve a platform on this website. RSN is also just as guilty of abusing the copyright system as Vince is, but fair is fair and right is right. So I will stand up for RSN this one time. And I will say yes, Vince was entirely in the wrong and was most certainly abusing the copyright system as it pertained to Realstream News. Although I do want to say I do not appreciate RSN trying to lump me in with Vince in one of his tweets. It's not true that I am friends with Vince or that I had any part in this, and there is no evidence to suggest otherwise. But for full transparency's sake here, I will say that just the other day, Vincent did contact me via Skype and asked me if I am interested in having RSN taken off of YouTube. I responded to this by asking what Vince had in mind, simply because I was curious and I wanted to know if he was trying to get me involved with some sort of false strikes here or something. Vince never responded to me about this, but that is kind of the moment where I decided that yeah, I do think I have to talk about this. Anyway, in response to all the public outcry of this situation, Chris Hansen took to his Twitter account. Vincent Nicotra asked me to share this with you. I would like to sincerely apologize for letting my ego, anger, and short-sightedness interfere with my judgment recently. I take full responsibility for my actions, and I am deeply regretful for hurting and offending you all. To the victims of undesirable behavior, you are my absolute priority. I wholeheartedly regret that my actions caused unnecessary distractions and a sideshow. I will never let that happen again. Best regards, Vincent Nicotra, website and YouTube media producer. Chris then followed up saying, I am reviewing Vincent Nicotra's recent actions as they relate to Have a Seat with Chris Hansen and Hansen v Undesirables, and I'm considering the next steps. However, people do not seem to have been entirely happy with this response. Some people even going as far as to say that Vincent had access to Chris's account and posted this himself. But people are not happy, as it appears that Vincent is actually continuing to run in the same role as he always has been. The only difference at the moment that we can see is Vincent is not quite as much of a public face as he was before. He's still there running the live streams, he's still there talking to potential guests. Most people do seem to be in agreement that Vince has got to go. He is doing a lot of damage to Chris Hansen's reputation, and also a lot of damage to the credibility of the Onision investigation. Personally, I really can't disagree with these people. I do think Chris probably needs to do something here. If Chris allows Vincent to continue in his current role, still, then surely that means at this point, Chris is turning a blind eye to violations of copyright law, along with the numerous other concerning behaviours that Vince has exhibited all over social media. But to make matters even worse for Chris, this part doesn't even concern Vince, but to make matters even worse, Chris, on his most recent episode of the Have a Seat with Chris Hansen show, brought on a lawyer named Mike Morse. And this was to discuss the legality and legal implications of the Onision investigation. Now, it was also worth pointing out that Chris has previously appeared on Mike's own podcast. But after the show, people on social media have started to point out that Mike Morse is actually someone who has some pretty serious accusations against him himself. Now, I personally do not know if the guy is innocent of these charges or not. But surely this is a huge oversight on Chris's part, especially when you consider the sensitivity of the subject matter here. Twitter user Aldi was posting some concerns, saying Hansen is willfully involving someone accused of multiple instances of sexual assault/harassment in interviews dedicated to amplifying the voices of victims of sexual undesirables. How are victims and viewers to trust Hansen giving that involvement? He's putting his credibility in jeopardy. If these allegations against Morse are swept under the rug and not explicitly addressed, it will appear that Hansen's advocacy of victims is conditional, subject to his business associations and subsequent personal gain. To be clear, I am not cancelling Hansen or anything like that. We don't have all the details, which is why I hope he addresses these issues. I do think these are entirely valid concerns to have. And again, I just can't disagree with any of what was said there. I completely agree with all of that. It is concerning. It doesn't look very good at all. I mean, I don't believe that this suddenly means, oh my god, Hansen supports undesirables, he's a hypocrite, or anything like that. But the look of this. This looks absolutely terrible from a PR standpoint, and that's been the whole issue with Vincent. Vincent has been a PR disaster, non-stop, disaster after disaster, controversy after controversy. And again, I want to go back to what I said at the beginning when I started covering this story. I don't have any personal issues with Vincent or Hansen. Both of them have been nothing but nice, very receptive to me in the conversations I've had with them. Very few conversations, but I have had a few conversations with them, and they have been nothing but pleasant towards me. However, again, this is very, very serious, especially when you look at the blatant abuses of the copyright system on Vince's part, and the fact that it seems like Chris is not doing anything at the moment. I'm just sitting here hoping, really, really hoping, that Chris just doesn't understand the severity of what's going on. But as time goes on and the more instances we see come to light, it becomes harder for me to keep thinking that. It becomes harder for me to personally excuse all of this. Anyway, this was not supposed to be an, oh, I'm exposing Vince and Chris or anything like that. That's not what this segment was supposed to be. I'm just covering what's going on. I feel like it's my duty, I feel like I have a responsibility to talk about what was going on there, just as I would talk about any other story. Anyway, as always on my channel, I would love to hear what all of your opinions are on this entire situation, because honestly, I'm feeling quite conflicted here. I thought from the start, it seemed like they had some good interests at heart. It seemed like they were okay guys. And now there's all this other stuff coming up, and it's just, especially from Vincent, it seems quite concerning. I mean, I hope for the best. I'm trying to be optimistic here, but things just aren't looking too good in the grand scheme of things. I mean, there are people who are suggesting that this whole FBI involvement isn't real and that Chris is lying about that as well. And I mean, these are subjects for an entirely different video. I mean, the whole thing is just turning into a huge, huge mess. And it is really, really unfortunate, because when this whole thing started, people were very excited. It looked like there was finally hope. It looked like there was hope to get justice for victims of Onision and Kai. It looked like someone was finally going to take down Onision. But things don't seem to be going that way anymore. It has evolved into a sideshow. And honestly, I'm not sure I have confidence in the direction of this anymore. The one good thing I would say that has come from all of this, either way, is I do think Onision has been hit very, very hard by this investigation. I mean, he lost his Patreon account during this. That was a huge loss for him. This has also gone quite mainstream. Onision is getting more bad publicity than he ever has before. And I suppose that is the bright side of things. Anyway, that's just my opinion, and that's where I'm going to end today's video. Be sure to let me know what you thought about that last story or any of the other stories in those comments down below. Make sure to leave a like on the video. Make sure to hit subscribe, turn on those notifications if you haven't already. Check out my links in the description down below, including my Twitch stream, because I have been irregularly streaming on there. And until next time, everyone, my name is Rag Reynolds, and this was Medium Rare.